Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Next Take podcast where we have discussions on different topics. So this is usually an episode where we will do like a 3 topic episode, but this is going to be a special episode, and we are going to be doing an episode on Groundhog Day because it's actually Groundhog Day today as it's being released. So let's just jump into it. We're going to be kind of talking about Groundhog Day for Canada, Groundhog Day for America, um, and we'll see what else we kind of get into. So, Groundhog Day in the United States and Canada, which is usually again on February 2nd, on which the emergence of the groundhog or woodchuck from its burrow is said to foretell the weather for the following 6 weeks. Hopefully, here in Canada, the groundhog will see its shadow and give us a break. The beginning of February, which falls roughly halfway between the winter solstice and the spring equinox, has long been a significant time of the year in many cultures. Among the Celts, for example, or Celts, it was the time of Imbolc, I believe, observed in anticipation of the birth of farm animals and the planting of crops. And February 2nd is also the date of the Christian festival of Candlemas, also called the Feast of the Purification of the Blessed Virgin. During the Middle Ages, there arose the belief that animals such as the badger and the bear interrupted their hibernation to appear on this day. If the day was sunny and the animal saw its shadow, 6 more weeks of winter weather remained. So I guess actually, if it's okay, so it's actually if it doesn't see a shadow, okay, no sun. If, however, the day was cloudy, it was a sign that the weather during the following weeks would be mild, leading to an early spring. German immigrants to the United States carried the legend with them, and in Pennsylvania, the groundhog came to be substituted for the badger. Since 1887, an animal in Punxsutawney, in the west central part of the state, has been the center of a staged appearance each February 2nd. In what has become a media event, a groundhog designated Punxsutawney Phil is the center of attention of television weathermen and newspaper photographers. Groundhog Day, anybody? Although promoters of the local festival surrounding Punxsutawney Phil claim that the animals have never been wrong, an examination of the records indicates a correlation of less than 40%. Whether a groundhog does or does not emerge is thought to be related to the amount of fat it was able to store before going into hibernation. Canada has a number of groundhogs that serve as weather prognosticators. Sure. Perhaps the best known being those portraying Weirton Willie, which is a white-furred, pink-eyed creature that has appeared on the Bruce Peninsula, northwest of Toronto, since 1956. Legend has it that watching a groundhog emerge from its burrow can determine the weather forecast for the coming weeks, as we just mentioned. Accordingly, if it is a sunny day and the groundhog sees its shadow, it goes back to sleep for 6 more weeks of winter. If the weather is cloudy and the groundhog does not see its shadow, it stays outside, meaning that the worst of winter is over, please, and spring will soon arrive. Again, please. Many communities in Canada keep up this tradition today, attracting the attention of tourists and media alike. So this is more for Canada, by the way. So the origins of Groundhog Day date back to medieval Europe, as we just mentioned. The day of February 2nd corresponds with Candlemas, which is, as we just mentioned, a religious festival during which candles are lit, hence the celebration's name. It dates back to pagan times, of course, when farmers would purify their land by carrying torches in procession before sowing time. Excess flour was used to make crepes, a symbol of prosperity for the coming year. Since the 5th century, February 2nd has been used to mark the presentation of Jesus at the temple 40 days after his birth, a date that was chosen in accordance with the Georgian calendar, which that is interesting since Jesus actually wasn't born on December 25th, but I digress. The celebration also falls halfway between winter solstice and spring equinox, as we just mentioned. In fact, many old proverbs draw links between the length of winter and the weather conditions that occur on this particular date. In Scotland, there was an old saying that, quote, if Candlemas Day is bright and clear, there'll be or two winters in the year. In England, an old song elaborates on this idea, quote, if Candlemas be fair and bright, come winter, have another flight. If Candlemas brings clouds and rain, go winter and come not again. Please. Additionally, a relationship was established early on between the waking of hibernating animals, such as bears, otters, and hedgehogs, and the end of winter. According to European beliefs, spring's arrival could be predicted based on the awakening of such animals, which makes sense. It appears that European settlers, particularly Germans, brought this belief with them, as we just talked about, to North America and relied on the marmot, one of the most widespread hibernating animals, to predict winter, whether prolonged winter conditions or spring warming lay in store. Canadian winters are much longer and more intense than those in Europe. We are experiencing that right now. As winter food stores got low, the first European settlers hoped that spring would arrive early so they could sow earlier and therefore harvest earlier. However, the groundhog emerges from hibernation later than the European hedgehog, and it is much less likely to stir, even on warm winter days. While winter in Western Europe is normally finished by February 2nd, in Canada, it is usually still cold and snowy well past that date, like April or May sometimes. The entrances go, um, sorry, the entrances to groundhogs' burrows are also usually covered in thick layers of snow and ice in early February. However, there is a kernel of truth to the shadow aspect of the legend. In winter, sunny days are usually associated with Arctic air, which is colder and drier, while cloudy days are associated with coastal air, which is milder and more humid. Since weather conditions often last several days, those on February 2nd could continue to last for a few days, although not necessarily much longer than that. Over time, Groundhog Day has become a fun way to anticipate the coming of spring. In North America, the tradition of predicting the weather by watching groundhogs come out of their burrows dates back to 1887 and is attributed to German settlers in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. Today, the town hosts a week-long festival in which all eyes are on the groundhog, Punxsutawney Phil. In Canada, as we just mentioned, Weirton Willie of Weirton, Ontario, is the most famous groundhog and has been predicting the weather since 1956. Like Punxsutawney Phil, Weirton Willie is not a wild groundhog, since it is unlikely that Weirton Willie would come out of his burrow on his own before early to mid-March, so which is about 6 to 8 weeks after February 2nd. He's awakened from hibernation to make his prediction because get up and tell us what we have to come. The event attracts thousands of curious onlookers and is followed by activities including a parade, hockey and curling tournaments, dances, and even a pancake breakfast, as celebrants of Candlemas would have done. Other groundhogs across Canada play meteorologists as well, including Baltic Billy in Alberta, Groundhog Harvey in Oil Springs, Ontario, Fred La Marmotte in Val I'm so sorry. I'm going to butcher this. French, let's channel it, in d'Espoir, Quebec. Sorry. Two Rivers Tunnel on Cape Breton Island, and Shubenacadie Sam in Nova Scotia. Shubenacadie Sam lives in what I just said, Shubenacadie. I know I'm butchering that. Provincial Wildlife Park, and does not hibernate during the winter in order to put on a better show for tourists. Even North American regions without mascots celebrate Groundhog Day. The phenomenon was immortalized in the American film, as I mentioned earlier, Groundhog Day, which features Bill Murray as an arrogant meteorologist who is forced to live out the same day for the rest of his life. Cue Sonny and Cher. Meteorological data. Groundhog Day organizers maintain that the rodents' predictions are accurate 75 to 90% of the time. However, Canadian meteorological data prove that the groundhog success rate is actually quite low. Meteorological data from 13 Canadian cities over the past 30 to 40 years indicate that there have been an equal number of sunny and cloudy days on February 2nd. During this period, the groundhog's predictions were correct only 30% of the time, meaning that winters remain cold. And yeah, I mean, Groundhog Day is fun, of course, just to see what the groundhog is going to predict. But at the end of the day, winter is still going to be here for another 6 weeks, right? Past that point, and we're still going to, unfortunately, cold weather and potentially snow. And all I hope for is that right now we can dig ourselves out of the amount of snow we've gotten here in Ontario and the deep freeze we're currently dealing with. Pray with us. But anyways, that is it for Groundhog Day. Special episode for that. But yeah, that's it for this. We'll be back with another episode. But yeah. Bye, everybody. If you liked what you heard with our podcast, you can head on over to our website, which is solo.to/next take podcast. There you can get any of the links to any of our social media, which is Facebook, Instagram at Next Take Podcast, and Twitter, TikTok, and Blue Sky at Next Take Pod. You can also find links to our Reddit page and many other things, I'm sure. Can't remember all the top of my head. You can also email us at mikeltanyka@gmail.com. There you can send us any inquiries you have, any questions, or also any episode ideas. And if you do have episode ideas, just make sure you put in the subject line episode ideas, and we'll add it to our list. If you also liked us, you can like us, rate us, follow us on any of your favorite podcast apps. You can rate us, however, on Spotify and Apple Podcast. We would greatly appreciate that. And we'll also move forward and share or spot a light on those who give us 5-star ratings in the future. That is it for us. We'll see you next time for the episode.